Hi guys, I'm Lisa and I'm going to take you through a Pilates for over 55s or for anyone who maybe has injuries and just needs some more modifications, and this class will be suitable for you. So for today you just need the space of a mat. If you do have a mat, if you don't, just get a piece of floor, maybe if you have somewhere with carpet, just that you're not lying on a hard floor, and a cushion just to support your neck and head, okay? So you might need that, you might not. I'm going to use it to start, okay? So you put that towards the end of the mat. We're going to turn, and then you can keep your hands on your shins and slowly lower yourself down. Pop your head onto your cushion, okay, if you need it there. Have about a tennis ball distance between your feet, between your knees, and we'll just pop our hands on our hips. We're going to start with some pelvic tilts, okay? So with our pelvic tilts, we're moving from a big arch in our back to pinning our back down on the ground. So to do that, I'm going to roll my hip bones forward first, my hip bones towards my pubic bone to create this big, huge space in my low back. And then I'm going to roll my hip bones back and pin my back down on the mat, so there's no space for me to fit my hand in there. Then again, I'm rolling my hip bones forward, big space in the low back, and I'm rolling my hip bones back, planting the back down. And just move between the two of these, arching the back and pinning the back. Rolling your hip bones towards your pubic bone, rolling your hip bones towards your belly button. And you can find your breath here. So in class, I'll always recommend a breath. You don't have to do it, it's just a recommendation. It'll suit most people. What I would always recommend to do is inhale on the easier part of the movement, so your body can get some recovery. Exhale on the harder part, because when we exhale, our core shortens and it can come in and help us in the movement. On this one here, I inhale as I rock my hips forward, because I find it easier to arch my back, and I exhale as I roll my hips back and pin the back down. Now what I want you to do is find a place between these two movements that's balanced. So I'm not completely arched, I'm not completely pinned, I just have a little space in my low back. I can just about fit my fingertips through there, okay? So that's balance between being totally forward and totally back. Now you can place your hands on your hip bones. This time we're going to lift the hips up and down, side to side. So I'm going to lift my right hip bone up, drop my left hip bone down. So if you imagine your right bum cheek lifts up, left bum cheek drops down. Then I'm going to drop my right bum cheek down, lift my left bum cheek up. So one hip up, one hip down. And again, lowering on one side, lifting on the other, and lowering and lifting. So if you can feel that movement in your hips, pop your hands on your hip bones, feel that difference between the two. And if you can't feel it 100%, don't panic. It can take a few classes to get this movement right. If it works better for you to drop one bum cheek down and lift one bum cheek up to get the movement, go for that. Finding where you can feel the biggest movement, the biggest difference between that left and right. And then again, we're going to find that balance between the left and right. So you're not lifting really high on one side or the other. You want it to be completely balanced. Once you have that balance between left and right, make sure you still have just that little space in your low back. So if you're after doing a huge arch or pinning here, reset the back. Do a few pelvic tilts forward and back. We want to be completely balanced here in the pelvis. And that's our neutral pelvis. Whenever we're lying down, we want to be in that position. We never want to be totally pinning our back or totally arching our back. We always want to start off here, okay? The next thing we're going to do is just focus in on that breath. So you can pop your hands onto your ribs, and I just want you to feel the breath. You don't have to do anything different. Just inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Now you should find when you inhale, you feel your ribs expanding in your hands. When you exhale, you should feel those ribs sink down. So big inhale, ribs expand, they go up, they go out, the front, the back, the sides. Exhale, they shrink in and they sink down. Then again, big inhale, ribs can expand. Big exhale, ribs melt down. And just keep flowing with that breath. At any point during class, if I mention don't forget to breathe or inhale here, exhale here, and you've totally forgotten all about the breath, pop your hands on your ribs and just do this. Feel that breath. Feel the movement of the ribs. By keeping the movement and the breath down in the ribs, we're taking all the tension out of the head, neck and shoulders, and we're just taking the breath down a little lower in the body. Our core can work a little bit more then. Now from here, we're going to keep our pelvis the same, nice and smooth, left to right, forward and back. We're going to keep our breath flowing in and out of those ribs. If you have a cushion behind your head now, I'm just going to get you to move it out so your head is completely flat as we're going to lift the pelvis up. Move the heels of your feet a little closer towards your bum and just place your hands down by the sides of your hips or your feet. Roll your shoulders back, lift your breastbone up and then let it sink down. Relax onto the mat. Now from here, you want to take an inhale. Roll your hips to your belly button. We're going to plant the back down to start this exercise. We need the back flat. As you exhale, stand into your feet. As you do, you'll start to feel your hips lift up. Your knees almost reach forward, and we're rolling into a move we call shoulder bridge. When you're at the top, take a big inhale, and then exhale. I want you to peel through your spine. Think about every disc coming down one after the other, nice and gently, like placing a pearl of beads down on the mat. Inhale at the bottom, roll your hips to your belly button. Exhale, push down into your feet. Really spread your toes, stand down to let the hips lift up. Inhaling at the top, exhaling, peeling back down. Now this move is brilliant for strengthening all of the posterior chain. Keep moving and I'm going to keep talking. We're working all the posterior chain right from the backs of your knees all the way through to the top of your back. And to get the most out of the exercise and make sure it's evenly working all through the posterior chain, we want to keep our bum switched off. So as you roll up, try not to squeeze the muscles in your bum, because when we do, sometimes we just work the glutes and we put a bit of pressure into our low back and end up arching it. So we'll relax the bum, our hamstrings can do more of the work, and we'll get a little bit more even strengthening throughout the back. Now once you have that bum switched off, the next thing to focus on is just popping your hands on your hips and just rolling up and down, just as you were. What I want you to feel here is that your hips are balanced. They're not weaving over left or right. They're not dipping down left or right. Both hip bones are lifting up together, nice and smooth. And both hip bones are lowering down together. Now, if you have a lot of wobbling and shaking, what I want you to do is focus on your feet and think about pressing down evenly into your left and right foot. If you're carrying an injury on one side or the other, and you do find that one side is way stronger and just pushing way harder, tone it back. Go much easier just to find that balance. If they're swaying side to side, we're just going to control that by our knees. Make sure the space between your knees isn't changing as you're moving up and down. Imagine sending your knees up and forward instead of letting them go out left and right. Nearly there. We'll just go for 3 more. Rolling up gently. Bum switched off, hips balanced. Super move for testing the stability in our hips. If anyone is struggling now with how high up we're lifting, don't panic. You can lift up even an inch and then back down. If you're carrying an injury or maybe this exercise is totally new to you, just lift up as much as you can and that feels challenging for you, and then peel back down. So you don't have to lift as high as I'm lifting if you're carrying an injury or it's new to your body. Just move as much as you can. Now on our next one, I want us to go up to the top and hold it there. Somewhere you can hold and hold well. Now I'm going to place my hands on my hips, just make sure they're balanced. I'm not dipping into my left or my right. I have a little glance towards my knees. I've just a tennis ball distance between my knees and they're set. That space isn't going to change between my knees and my hips are not going to drop. They're not going to wobble side to side. I'm going to put all of my weight and focus into my left leg now and float my right leg into tabletop. Now when I lift the leg up, I want my hips to be balanced. So if that you dip into that right hip, lift the hip up, imagine your thigh bone reaching out of your hip socket.
Hold it there for 1, 2, place that foot down. Transfer all the weight into that right foot, left foot comes up. Make sure that hip is balanced. Lift the thigh bone up and out of the hip socket. Hold it for 1, for 2, place the foot down. And we switch sides again. As you place the foot down, still make sure your hips are balanced all the time. So when the foot goes down, you make sure the hips are balanced. Hold for 2 to 3 seconds each time. I'm going to keep talking. As we're moving here as well, if you find your chest is flaring all of a sudden, let your breastbone relax, let it sink down. If you need to, place your hands on your ribs and remind your body you want to be breathing in and out of those ribs. We don't want to be taking any tension up to the upper body here. If you're struggling keeping your hips up, drop your hips an inch. You can even drop your bum all the way down and just go for leg lifts up and down, okay? You'll still be testing the hip range, mobility and stability in those hips. We've another 3 to go. Hold for 1, 2, 3, switch. Hips stay balanced. Last 2, 1, 2, 3. And last 1, 2, 3. Place the foot down. You can peel down. Give your knees a little hug in towards the chest. Give yourself a small baby rock from side to side. Place the feet back down just as they were, about a tennis ball distance between your feet and your knees. Heels close towards your bum, hands by your sides. Now from here, again, we're going to lift into a shoulder bridge. So roll your hips to your belly button, stand into your feet, you're going to peel up. From here, your hips are going to stay completely balanced, okay? We're going to drop both hips an inch, lift both hips an inch. Drop both hips an inch, and lift both hips an inch. Lowering and lifting. And we're popping those hips open at the top using all of the hip flexors here. So drop both hips down and then pop them open to the top. We'll go for 6, knees still reaching forward all the time. Imagine the heels of your feet pulling back towards your shoulders. For 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, and last 1. Roll all the way down. Spread your feet really wide now. So I go as wide as your mat, or if you don't have a mat, go wider than shoulder width apart, okay? Hands open out wide, left and right, palms up towards the ceiling. Now from here, you want both knees to fall towards the left, and you're going to look towards your right. Feeling a big, huge twist in the body. You can inhale, bring your knees to center. Exhale, drop to the opposite side. Look in the opposite direction to what your knees are falling. One more time, inhale to center. Exhale to change. And again, inhale to center and exhale to change. Bring your knees to center now. Place your feet back in, side by side. Now, if you find that your head and neck are very uncomfortable here, you feel like your head is falling back a little bit, you can place that cushion back underneath your head just to give your neck and head a bit of support, okay? I'm not going to put it underneath just because I'm feeling good in the neck and head today, but if you need it, pop it underneath, or halfway through if you need to, place that underneath. Now, we're going to have our heels close to our bum again. We're going to take our hands up towards our knees. Now you don't have to reach really high up, keep your head down, but just extend your arms forward so they're as high up on your thigh bones as they can go without lifting your head. Now from here we're going to do an abdominal crunch. The first thing you do before you do anything else is just tuck your chin in so we have a bit of length in the back of the neck. I'm going to take a big inhale through the nose. As I exhale, I'm going to keep my chin tucked in. I'm going to curl up, looking towards my belly button, moving my ribs to my hips. Let my fingertips go up over my knees, and then I'm going to curl back down, release my spine down with an inhale. Big exhale as I curl up, look towards my belly button, move my ribs towards my hips. Inhale, feel all that space between my ribs and hips as I rest. Then again, big exhale, ribs move to hips, try and get those shoulders to lift up, fingers go beyond your knees. and then release it all the way back down. You want to imagine that you have a really tight jumper on and you're trying to take it off over your head. So it's a real scooping feeling that you're coming up with. So I'm scooping up into a real rounded position with the upper body, keeping a bit of space between my shoulders and my ears all the time. My breastbone sinks down towards the mat as I lift up, and I try and move my ribs as close to my hips as I can. Now on the next one, we're going to go up, we're going to hold it up there. Try and get your shoulder blades off your mat. I'm going to inhale, arms come back over my head, I'm going to go around in a circle, hands come back to center, I'm going to lower down. Big inhale, exhale, I'm going to curl up, arms up over my head, out to the sides, around, back to my knees, and I'm going to lower down. 2 more, exhale, curl up, hands up and back, around, back to my knees, and I lower. Last one, lift, get those shoulders up, arms come back, out to the sides and around, lower down. We're going to go the opposite direction this time. You're going to curl up, hands come out left and right of your knees, they come back around your head, back to the knees, we lower. We're just going for 3, exhale, lift, hands come out to the sides, around behind the head and back, and we lower. Still trying to lift up and off that mat as best you can. If you're struggling here, leave the head down, move with the arms. Last 2. And last 1. And lower down. For this next exercise, we can be up in an abdominal crunch, or if you're struggling with the head, neck and shoulders here, you can stay lying down, okay? You're going to bring the right leg into tabletop and left leg into tabletop. Remember those pelvic tilts we did at the start of class to make sure we have just a little bit of space in the low back? Make sure that you're there now. So if you need to place your feet down, have a little rock forward and back, side to side, balance out the pelvis. Legs in tabletop, you might find the back tries to pin or arch. So what you want to do is find that place where you can just fit the fingertips into the low back. Now from here, I'm going to take my hands to the outside of my thighs. I'm going to take a big inhale. As I exhale, I'm going to curl up just as I've done. Tuck my chin in, look towards my belly button. Head, neck and shoulders lift up. Now again, if you're struggling with the head, neck and shoulders, just leave your head down, okay? From here, I'm going to take my left shin in both hands, reach my right leg forward. Big inhale, exhale, switch. Inhale, exhale, switch. Now if you find while you're doing this that it's really hard on the hips or the abdominals, go higher with the leg. You can even go straight over the hips to make it easier. The lower you go with the legs, the harder it's going to be. If you're lifting up, keep the shoulders off the mat as best you can. Look at your belly button. If you're lying back down, just focus on bringing that knee into the chest and opening out the opposite hip as you do. You can always switch. You can have the head up and then lower down when you get tired. We've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Both knees into the chest, rest your head down. Small baby rock side to side. Now from here, we're going to do double leg stretch next. So legs to tabletop, hands to the outside of your thighs. Big inhale, exhale, we're going to curl up again. You can leave the head, neck and shoulders down if you need to. This time both chins in towards your chest. Reach the legs out, arms out if you can. Then again, curl it all in, reach it all out. We're just going for 6. I would exhale as you reach out, inhale as you draw in. For 5. For 4, keep those shoulders up. For 3, for 2, and last one, knees in, feet down. Deep breaths, rest your head. Now from here, what we're going to do, I'm going to lengthen my left leg out so it's straight. I'm going to place my hand on my left hip bone, and as best I can, I'm going to try and keep that hip bone steady and just in place for this next exercise. Bring my right leg into tabletop. Now again, that space in my low back, I'm just going to check it. Do I still have it? Yeah, I can just fit my fingertips in there. I'm not pinning or arching. hand back onto that left hip bone. It's not going to move. We need pure stability there. With my right leg, my right thigh bone, I'm going to draw a circle. So I want to bring the thigh bone towards my face first, out the side of my mat, down around to the front, across to the opposite side and back. Reaching the thigh bone towards you, to the side, to the front, and all the way around. And whenever you do a leg circle in a Pilates class or any class that you may do, all you're doing is mobilizing your thigh bone in your hip socket. So if you need to be on tabletop, that's absolutely fine. Now, if you've done Pilates before or maybe exercise classes before, and you think this is a little bit too easy, you can try a straight leg and do straight leg circles. That will be much more challenging. If you're going for the straight leg, still focus on the movement of the thigh bone. Now, when you're ready, reverse that circle. Take it the opposite way around. Because this is a mobility move, we need to have stability, because mobility and stability go hand in hand. So that's why we keep the left hip steady as we mobilize that right leg. Keep your shoulders down. And go for another 2. And last one. You can reach that right leg straight out. Pop your hand on the right hip bone, left leg to tabletop. Knee over the hip, shin in line with your machine, toes pointing forward or your mat. You're going to bring that knee towards you, out the side, down around to the front, out the other side, all the way around. And as you're going around in your circle, making sure your right hip bone is staying steady, making sure you're not getting massive arching or pinning in your low back. You should always have just that little bit of space there. Now, if you're like, I can't keep remembering about that low back, just stick your fingers just into your low back and you'll feel. You will feel the back lifting away ever so slightly and pushing down ever so slightly as you go around. But it shouldn't be massive arching or massive pinning. So if you need to readjust the hips, go for it. As much as the knee is going forward, it's going back. As much as it's going to the left, it's going to the right. We want perfectly balanced circles so we can really mobilize that thigh bone in the hip socket. When you're ready then, we're going to reverse it. Deep breaths all the time. Big inhales, big exhales. We're going for another 3. For 2. And last one. Bring both knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a little baby rock from side to side. Now from here, you can keep your left shin in towards your chest, right foot can be down, rock back and then rock up into sitting. From here, we're going to sit up tall on the bony parts of the bum. Spread your feet just beyond hip distance apart ever so slightly, and you really want to keep your heels of your feet down on the mat for this one. So if they start to lift back, you can readjust your feet to somewhere that you can really keep them planted. Now from here, I'm going to stack my spine up. I'm going to sit really, really tall, lift my breastbone up, roll my shoulders down my back. You want to be on the bony parts of your bum straight up in a line. Hands come out from the chest. Now from here, I'm going to take a big inhale through the nose. As I exhale, I'm going to roll off the bony parts of the bum. I'm going to scoop my tummy back, scoop my chest back, and roll back into a C-shaped position. This is our C curve. So we want to be scooping back in the tummy, scooping back in the chest with my arms still reaching forward. I'm going to inhale at the bottom, and then exhale, I'm going to curl back up, waiting until my shoulders are over my hips, stacking the spine up, rolling them back. And then I'm going to do it again. Roll off the bony parts of the bum, scoop the tummy back, scoop the chest back. Big inhale while I'm back there, exhale, curling back up. Shoulders over the hips, then I can sit up tall again. Roll off the bony parts of the bum as the first move. So it's like you're doing a pelvic tilt. Tummy scooping back, chest scooping back, and then curling back up. Stacking the spine. It's a beautiful move for your spine, really warms it up and gives it a really nice massage as you curl it back and as you stack it back up to the top. If you find you can't go as far back as me, don't panic. Go as far back as feels challenging for you and then roll back up. If you can go further back than me, great, but we don't want to be lying all the way down on the mat. You're just going to a C-shaped position, heels still planted into that mat, and then curling back up. Next one, you're going to go back and hold it, somewhere you can hold and hold well. With an inhale, my arms go up, biceps to the sides of my ears. Inhale, hands come down. And then again, reach the arms up and lower them back down. Inhale, scoop them up. Exhale, scoop them down. We're going for 6. You might feel the tummy wobble and shake, that's great. That's where we'll adapt and get stronger. All the stabilizing muscles in the core shake when they're working, so the shakes and wobbles are good. Big inhale up, exhale down. Last 3. Stay in that C curve. Last 2. And last 1. Hands forward, curl forward. Wait until your shoulders are over your hips. Sit up tall, roll the shoulders away. Now, we're going to do a nice stretch for the spine next. So we're going to sit facing forward. Now for this next one, you can sit with your legs out wide, left and right. If you have any injuries going on in your hips or your inner thighs, your groin muscles, anything like that, and you find it too challenging to sit like this, you can sit with your legs crossed over, maybe forward to the front if you find it difficult to cross the legs over, or you can just have the legs a little closer together. So you don't have to have the legs really spread out if it's too challenging for you. Find a place where you can just sit on the bony parts of the bum and have the legs comfortable, okay? So I'm gonna sit with my legs spread out just this far, and I'm gonna sit up nice and tall. Roll the shoulders back. I'm gonna bring my hands out left and right, and I'm gonna give a thumbs up towards the sky. When your arm reaches up into the sky, it externally rolls out. That's your natural bone rhythm. So whenever I'm reaching my arm out, I move my thumb so that my bone moves the way it wants to, okay? So that's why we give a thumbs up here. Now I'm gonna sit up really tall. I'm gonna take a big inhale. As I exhale, I'm just gonna twist. Don't reach towards the foot, just twist to start. Inhale to center, exhale, twist. Inhale to center, exhale, twist. Inhale to center. Now when I twist, I have a tendency to let my shoulders curl up towards my ears because I hold a lot of tension in my upper body. If that's the same for you, when you twist, relax those shoulders. Bring it to center, relax, and twist. So don't panic if these little things happen during class. Just remind yourself to relax and release. Go for 3, for 2, and last 1. To center, roll the shoulders away. Now, if you could flex your foot towards your face, big toes towards your face. This time we're going to take an inhale. As I exhale, I'm going to twist. Reach my hand towards the baby toe of the opposite foot for 1, 2, 3. Bring it to center. Exhale, twist. Reach for the baby toe on the opposite foot. 2, 3. To center. Big inhale. Exhale, twist. 1, 2, 3. To center, and again, twist. 1, 2, 3. To center. We're going to go for 4 more. This is a really nice movement for your spine twist, and we're working all our fascia planes. How one shoulder affects the opposite hip affects the opposite ankle and knee. For 2, and the last 1. Bring it to center. You can pop your hands down, roll your shoulders away. Bring your legs back into center. We're going to come onto our mat into a kneeling position. Okay, so in this kneeling position, what I want you to do is just curl your toes back. So we're in a high kneel position here. And I just want you to curl your toes back, so you're up onto your toes, and then flatten your feet. Again, curl your toes back, and then flatten your feet. Now, if you get a cramp in your foot here, don't panic. You can stop, pause the class, join back in when you're ready. and just switching from being up on the toes to feet flat. Now from here, we're going to come up onto the toes, heels are flexed. Now from here, I'm just going to sit my bum back onto my heels. I'm going to come back up to a high kneel position, flatten my feet, sit my bum to my heels. Then again, I'm going to come up forward. Now press your hips forward all the time. Flex the feet, bum back to your heels. Lift up, hips go forward when you lift, feet flat, sit the bum back. Lift up, hips forward, flex the feet, sit the bum back. This is a really nice stretch for your ankles, your Achilles, and it's actually really working the hips because we're popping the hips forward all the time. That's why I really want you to focus on those hips being forward. If you don't really feel it, like me, pop your hands on your hips and feel those hips push forward, fully open out between repetitions. We'll just do 2 more. And last one. Now come into your high kneel position. Readjust your knees. You just want to have about a tennis ball distance between the knees, okay? We're going to flex the feet back now. Now this is a real test for our posterior chain, our hips, which we've worked on all class. You're well able for this one. We've got our toes flexed underneath. I feel my body nice and upright. My hips are forward. I'm pushing my bum forward even. And I've stacked my spine up. My shoulders are back. I'm going to keep my body in this flat position. I'm going to hinge back and hinge forward. Don't worry about going too far back to start, even if it's a couple of centimeters back and forward. If you can take it a little further back, go for that. And forward. We'll do 2 more and then we'll take a break. Lean it back and bring it forward. If you can have the hands in front, great. Back and forward. Last one. Forward, flatten the feet, sit your bum back. We're going to do that 1 more time. Now if you do that move really, really well, you'll feel all your quads, so the fronts of your thigh bones will really start to burn up because you're working all through there to get that hinge as we strengthen all the way through our back. So again, curl those toes under, stack the spine. Try and see how far back you can go this time, okay? If it's your first time doing it, I wouldn't recommend going too far back. Just do a little movement. If you've done it before, we can hinge all the way back and come forward. We're just going for 4. You might like to inhale as you hinge. Exhale as you come forward. Last 2. Don't worry if you have a little wobble. That's perfectly fine. That's where we'll learn and adapt. Ready? Let's go for our last one. Forward, flatten the feet, hands come down. Roll your shoulders away and just let those hips relax. Now coming into our last movement for today, we're going to go into a squat. If you have a mat, you may need to roll the mat up so that you can put your heels up on the mat. Now that's if you find you have a bit of instability in the legs, if you have any injuries in the legs, or maybe you're not used to squatting, I would highly recommend roll your mat up or get a cushion off the couch or something that you've close by just to pop underneath the heels of your feet. That'll make it easier to balance. If you're not really sure, try doing what I'm doing. If you find it really difficult or you're really wobbly, then it's time to roll the mat up or get a cushion. I'm going to do it facing the mat here, facing you guys here. So what I'm going to do, turn my big toes out, roll my shoulders back and bring my hands in front of my chest. I'm going to lower into a squat. Now as I lower down, my knees open out. My bum opens out behind. I lower my bum down. I'm going to bring my elbows inside my knees, bring my hands together. Now from here, we want to roll the hips around. Now it can be a really small circle. I want you to imagine moving your hips forward between your knees, out the side of your left knee, bum reaches out the back, around to the right, and all the way around again. So you're doing little pelvic circles here. You're pushing your knees out with your elbows. You're lifting your chest up towards your fingertips. I focus up. Now you keep moving just like this. For anyone who needs a modification, I'm going to show you now how to modify. If you have your mat rolled up, If you're finding this really wobbly, heels onto the mat, come down. It'll be much easier to balance if you have the heels slightly elevated. If you're working through it and you find every now and then you have a little wobble, that's fine. It's something to work on and to take note of that we need to work on. Now reverse it. We'll go the opposite way around. Nearly there. Keeping the breath long as we do. Go for another 3 deep breaths. For 2. And the last one. Pop your hands onto the ground in front of you. Just walk your feet in and slowly raise your legs up, but keep your head hanging down. Step off the mat if you have your feet elevated. Sink your head down. Have a little bend in your knees. Let your chest come onto your thighs. Spread your toes. Give yourself really good balance and support here. And then just let your arms hang really heavy. Imagine you have the heaviest weights in the world in your hands. So they're hanging down. Shake your head no. And then nod your head yes. And then just let your head hang down nice and heavy. Now every breath you do, I want you to try to lengthen your legs, keeping your chest close to your thighs. If you can't get your legs any straighter, let your chest peel off just enough that you can get the backs of the thighs straight. And then very, very gently, we want to peel the spine up. Roll it up on top of your hips. Imagine you still have those weights in your hands, so your arms are still hanging down as you peel up. Last thing to come up are those shoulders stacking, the head stacking. Roll the shoulders back, lift your eye focus up. Roll the shoulders back, and you can roll them forward. Take a big inhale, arms come up into the sky. Exhale, open out and around. One more big breath up and out. And you're all done. Well done.